You will bring me what I need, or everything you call a life will end.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 things you missed in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Look, momentum, right? Jump, tap, right? One move.
For this list, we're looking at the best callbacks, references, and hints at future stories packed inside this tiny adventure. If you haven't seen the latest Ant-Man film, beware of spoilers ahead. Which Avenger would you take into the quantum realm? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Sneaky Actor Cameos.
Baba Yaga, the witch. They tell stories to children to frighten them.
After playing Scott's friend Kurt in live-action and animated projects, David Dastmalchian managed to sneak under the radar to play the whole obsessed Veb. But his role as the happy and slimy creature was not the most subtle cameo the film pulled off. In one of the movie's funniest gags, a coffee shop employee played by Ruben Rabasa thanks Scott for being Spider-Man.
But everywhere I go, people tell me the same thing.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
The mistaken employee previously appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He played a balloon salesman that had a serious bone to pick with the Asgardian warrior Sif. If the show was canon, we could say that he was playing the exact same character. But either way, Rabasa has a knack for landing roles where he hangs out with superheroes.
You are a dangerous monster.
I am no monster.
Number 9. The dark side of Jimmy Woo's funny cameo. When Scott was on house arrest, FBI agent Jimmy Woo was determined to keep the Avenger in line.
I don't need to remind you that any violation of your agreement means 20 years in prison, minimum.
The two butted heads until Ant-Man had finally finished serving his time. At the end of Scott's sentence, Woo showed he had a change of heart when he asked if the two could hang out.
Did you want to grab dinner or something? I mean, because I'm free. Yeah, come on.
Although Ant-Man was reluctant at first, he definitely had to postpone after he got stuck in the quantum realm for 5 years thanks to the Thanos snap. This means that their meeting in Quantumania may have been the first time they had a chance to grab a meal in half a decade. As funny as Woo's appearance was, he also served as a reminder that Ant-Man's lost a lot of time.
She was mine. She was supposed to pull me out, and then Thanos happened, and I got stuck in there.
I'm sorry, that must have been a very long 5 years.
Number 8. A delicious Back to the Future reference. Avengers Endgame made it clear that Scott Lang is a huge fan of the Back to the Future franchise.
Are you seriously telling me that your plan to save the universe is based on Back to the Future? Isn't it?
No.
Good, you had me worried there.
After watching Quantumania, we are also convinced that Hank Pym loves the time travel trilogy too. When the scientist sits down for dinner with his family, he enlarges a pizza with his Pym tech. This cheesy moment perfectly mirrors a scene in Back to the Future Part 2. In their version of 2015, small food gets bigger once it gets hydrated in a special device.
Hydrate level 4, please. Is it ready?
Just like the Pyms, we see the McFlys enjoy this size-changing food for a family dinner. We hope the first Ant-Man takes more inspiration from the franchise and builds a functioning hoverboard for Scott.
He's on a hoverboard!
Become a WatchMojo channel member and get exclusive perks like Mojo emojis, loyalty badges, priority comment replies, and exclusive members-only content, including live list rankings with the Mojo staff and peeks behind the scenes. Don't miss out. Number 7. Scott Lang never gets bailed out of jail.
You know, you almost had us convinced that you were going to change your ways. They were really rooting for you.
While Scott is stuck in Kang's prison, he jokingly mentions that it's his 4th time behind bars. When you look back at every time he's been imprisoned, a pattern emerges. Scott had to wait to be paroled from jail in the first film. After he gets caught by police, he's encouraged to shrink his way past the bars and has to avoid the authorities for a while.
Smart choice. You actually listen for once. Under the door.
When Scott ends up in a superhero prison in Civil War, Cap breaks him out before Ant-Man accepts a plea deal. His 4th time behind bars only ends when he agrees to steal something for Kang. If Ant-Man ever ends up in jail again, we hope his friends use his best-selling book money to just bail him out.
I used to ask myself a lot of questions. Scott, you're at ex-con. How are you an Avenger?
Number 6. Cassie and Darren's rivalry runs deep.
Are you a monster?
Do I look like a monster?
I want my daddy!
The relationship between this young heroine and wannabe villain was messed up long before the antagonist became the big-headed MODOK. After all, Cross did try to kill her while he was dressed like a bee. But their rivalry is far more intense on the page. At one point, Darren's comic counterpart gets seriously ill. He figures out that he'd get better if he stole Cassie's heart because of its exposure to PIM particles. The villain ends up taking the organ and leaving her barely clinging to life. Fortunately, Cassie bounces back and even defeats him in a one-on-one battle. Both the movie and comics taught Darren an important lesson. If he tries to mess with a Lang, he is going to seriously regret it.
I love you, Cassie.
Number 5. Scott nods to What If. MODOK's, aka Darren's head, was a big subject of conversation every time he floated into a room.
Iron Man! Cheap shot to the back of the head, I know. I was actually aiming for literally any other part of your body.
Scott Lang seemed particularly interested in how his old foe functioned while being mostly a face. Unbeknownst to the hero, there is a variant of Ant-Man that could definitely relate to Darren. In the What If zombie episode, an alternate Scott is bitten by a zombie and turned into a member of the undead. But experiments with the Mind Stone gave Vision the ability to bring Ant-Man's head back to life.
Hey! Scott! Scott! Lang?
No way.
Oh.
After Scott is saved by a magical cloak, he starts to float around and crack jokes. If the heroic Avenger known as MODOK hadn't sacrificed himself, maybe he would have gotten along with this What If Ant-Man.
We'll put another W on the board for the Avengers. Go ahead, high five. It's okay, I won't feel left out.
Number 4. Every lesson from Ant-Man's training montage comes back.
You need to be skillful, agile, and above all, you need to be fast. You should be able to shrink and grow on a dime.
During Scott's training to become the size-changing hero, he had to learn 3 main lessons in one montage. He had to master how to shrink and regrow quickly, how to pull off a powerful punch, and how to command ants to work together. Scott has gotten so good at size-changing that he's able to do it constantly in a climactic battle against Kang. After he found out Cassie stole a suit, he quickly taught her how to hit hard when she was small.
Look, momentum, right? Jump, tap, right? One move, jump, tap.
I know how to do it, Dad.
Oh, do you?
Yes!
Really? Because it didn't look like it from my end.
And although Hank commanded an army of smart insects, Scott technically got a large group of Ant-Men to build an anthill together. Who knew that his small training montage would have such a huge impact in Quantumania?
Nailed it!
Number 3. Janet's story fully paralleled a comic storyline.
What are you so afraid of? There's something I never told you.
Throughout the third Ant-Man movie, we finally got a full picture of Janet's MCU journey. While everyone on Earth believed she was dead, she was busy rebelling against Kang's tyranny in the quantum realm. Janet eventually sees her enemy's dynasty fall after she gets help from a couple of Avengers.
Scott.
Miss Van Dyne. It's nice to... Well, I guess we've already met.
Her entire arc was a remixed version of a storyline from the comics. By the end of the Secret Invasion event, everyone believed Janet was dead, but it turned out that she was trapped in the microverse. After the Avengers pick up on her signal, they help her defeat a tyrant and get her back home. It was great to see Quantumania pay homage to Janet by adapting elements of her rich history.
I'm not the same woman I was 30 years ago, Henry. This place, it changes you.
Number 2. New twists on Ant-Man's most iconic moments. Shortly after Cassie grows into a giant form, Scott is seriously impressed with his daughter. He expresses his pride and amazement by reusing an emotional line he said to Cassie in Endgame after he realized she was 5 years older.
You're so big.
During the same conversation, his very tall daughter mentioned she has a craving for limes. Ant-Man made a similar citrus request after he went big in Civil War.
Does anyone have any orange slices?
One of the most emotional callbacks came when Scott thought he might lose everything in the quantum realm. Just as he reached his lowest point, the sound of Cassie's voice was enough to give him a second wind. This is the second time in the franchise that Scott's life was saved by his daughter.
Daddy! I love you so much.
I love you too.
Number 1. Kang's death may have been part of a bigger plan. In a post-credits scene, it's revealed that a council of Kangs was keeping tabs on the one they exiled to the quantum realm.
Some of us, new worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered.
And they didn't seem to mind much that the outsider died. We know that the Quantum Kang wasn't exactly the nicest guy around.
He will bring me what I need. Or everything you call a life will end.
However, what if there was another reason why his variants were so casual about his demise? In the comics, a version of Kang named Immortus got worried about his variants. The sinister mastermind manipulated events so that most of his counterparts ended up dead. There is a chance that one or more Kangs in the MCU want most of the variants to eliminate each other. When the dust clears, the last Conqueror standing would be free to dominate the multiverse.
I weaponized Goliath. And I ended the multiversal war.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.